My GF of 3.5 years broke up with me in April. 2 months later, she married the woman she cheated on me with. I just found out. My ex, 24F, and I, 24F, dated for 3.5 years. We met while I was in college in Jacksonville, Florida, Jax, and she was in med school in Argentina, but living at home in Jax as it was COVID and she was doing school virtually. I was completely enamored when we first fell in love, and for a very long time I saw this as being a long-term relationship, potentially leading to marriage and a serious future together. This was also my first relationship ever, so I was very head over heels and all naive in love. Our relationship was in person for 1 year, and then she moved back to Argentina to continue school in person. At this point, our relationship transformed into a long-distance one, and we would see each other a few times a year. I think it's important to note here that she never came and visited me while we were long-distance. She always made the excuse that school was so much for her, and she didn't ever want to ask the money from her parents. She has been, and still to this day is 100% completely financially dependent on them. I accepted this, though it always did hurt me a little, as I am not bathing in money as a young woman in my 20s living off my own coin and had to spend $1,200 plus on flights to Buenos Aires every time I went. I visited 5 times in 2 years. Then she'd come home to her family for holidays, and I would drive to see her in Jax when this happened. Eventually, in 2023, I decided to continue my education and went to the UK to get my master's. This was a difficult decision because it meant I was moving away from Florida, was living at home in the Panhandle at this point, still close enough to Jax to be close to her family and be there when she visited home, but it was best for my future. I really didn't want to lose her, and we stayed together through it all. Although there were rough bits, we talked every single day and slept on the phone together. Started making serious future plans for marriage. In December of 2023, I get a ticket to visit her in Jax. I'm there from December 23rd to January 3rd. I leave to get back to the UK, and she is supposed to visit me here for a whole month during her summer break from school, Southern Hemisphere, different seasons. She was meant to come here just 2 weeks after I left Jax, but this would never happen. She told me just days after I left that her mental health was bad and coming to the UK would be a negative disruption for her. This hurt me a lot, but it was difficult to feel this pain fully as I did understand the reason. If your mental health is bad, by all means, drop everything to the wayside to take care of that. But on the other hand, she had never visited me in our 3-year relationship at this point. I eventually got over it, but this was not pleasant and hurt me past how I had ever been hurt before. Due to the mental health stuff, she decides to take a sabbatical from school for a year to stay at home in Jax and work on herself. She had been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and also was struggling with an addiction to alcohol. I am supportive of this decision to stay home, as I want her to be healthy and happy, and med school is a lot of stress on a person. She starts making plans for this year now that she's not in school. She makes a plan to go to Nepal in late March to get yoga instructor certified, makes a trip to Seattle for a mountain hiking expedition in July, and makes plans for September to go to Vietnam with her family. I'm concerned with how much all of this is on her psyche, but she is adamant that all of this will help her every time I voice a concern. Late March of 2024 rolls around, and it's almost time for her to go to Nepal. She tells me about a coffee shop we used to go to together all the time, and how she's spending a lot of time there and meeting a lot of the baristas. I actually have a very close friend who works there. We will call her Emily, 24F, and is friends with my ex-BC of that connection. My ex tells me that she has met a new person who works there, let's call her Jane, 23F, and they have hung out a few times just platonically. But I get a feeling. You just know when that feeling comes and something isn't right. But I decide to ignore it because at this point, I have no reason to doubt her faithfulness in our relationship. It's officially the day for Nepal, and she can't do it. She tells me that she was crying her eyes out on the day of the trip and she couldn't get on the plane. This was shocking to me, as Nepal seemed so important to her, but I understood and told her I was there for her. It's a big trip and is very overwhelming. However, the day afterwards, she tells me that she needs time to be alone in her own head due to all of the mental turmoil she was in. I am trying to be as supportive as I possibly can be from far away and not try to push her to talk with me and lean on me and tell her I'll give her the time. She asks for the weekend, but she takes a whole week. After this week of next to nothing from her, I finally start pushing her more seriously for some explanations. Then she casually tells me over text, "I just don't see a future for us right now. Honestly, I don't know if I can keep fighting for this relationship." I'm shocked and extremely upset, not only at the ramifications of her words, but that fact that she essentially ghosted me for a whole week and then decided to break up over a text message. It's just all so seemingly out of left field. I tell her that she needs to call, and we do this properly, and she agrees. We make plans to talk the next day, but she delays it, and then we had to wait until the day after that to finally have a conversation. That's when she tells me that she has interest in someone else. Finally, the truth. I ask if it is Jane as I had suspected, and she confirms it, but not before telling me that nothing physical has happened between them, and she doesn't know anything about Jane's feelings for her. Context: days before this, Jane herself just got out of a 2-year-long relationship with her partner. Didn't see this as a red flag at the time, but yeah, I'm naive. I know. I tell her I don't want to talk or be friends, and we don't talk for a month. This was incredibly difficult for me. This was April 6th. Honestly, it was brutal to be broken up with in this way, especially with another person involved. I was crying every day and in a really dark place. A month later, she texts me out of the blue saying, "I miss you," and "I regret it." Although that month was hard and I managed to heal a lot in that time, I'm sad to say that these words eventually pulled me back in. We started talking again. A few days later, she goes to Nepal for real this time. She is there for 3 weeks, and we talk every day of these 3 weeks, under the guise of friendship. During this time, she tells me a lot of things. She tells me that her and Jane are seeing each other, but it is not serious, and they are not officially dating. She says that Jane is not very compatible with her, and after getting to know her better, she doesn't see a future with her. And she tells me throughout all of this that she misses me and regrets leaving me. I am unsure how to take all of this, as I suspect she is lying and her and Jane are more serious than she is letting on. I tell her that I'm not just an option to her, and wanted to be her friend due to the history of love shared between us, but I didn't want to be involved in any potential cheating situation despite the lingering feelings I definitely still had. She gets back home after Nepal, and it's essentially radio silence. I realize I have been used as a device for comfort while she was far away from home. This hurts me a lot as I feel like I had done so much to heal, and then allowed her to get back in my life to prey on my love for her. So I'm starting over from ground zero. She doesn't reach out, and neither do I. Pretty shortly after that, I finally get back in touch with Emily, and I learned a lot of things from the conversations that followed. Namely, that my ex was cheating on me that entire week. She was taking time to be alone. After the first attempt to go to Nepal, she was sleeping over at Jane's house and actively telling people in the coffee shop that they were together. Emily found out about this and asked my ex what was going on at the coffee shop one day. My ex told her that I don't know about any of this and not to tell me because she was planning on telling me herself. Emily believed this and didn't tell me. I can't even describe the pain that this revelation caused me. Once again, I'm hit like a truck and am devastated by this situation and the lies. My ex had said that nothing physical happened, that they weren't even ever officially dating. Just lies. I consider blocking her and then also consider sending her a long message saying that I know everything, but I decide to do none of that and keep everything to myself. Then, 2 days later, June 13th, my ex texts me completely unprovoked. She says, "I miss you and I feel like such an idiot for losing you." At this point, I really couldn't hold my tongue and told her what I found out. It took her a week to respond. She sent me a message that truthfully sounded like Jack wrote it, being like, "I regret my actions and I am sorry, and I adore you always." I told her that her apology didn't sound very genuine and she took no accountability, but I do appreciate the sentiment. This is the last time I have ever spoken with her. I thought that this would be it, and I would be done learning about things after the breakup and could finally heal without any interruptions. But no. Oh no, that wasn't it. A few hours ago, Emily texts me saying she needs to tell me something and wants to call. I, of course, called her very shortly thereafter and learned the most disturbing news up to this point. I muted my ex's posts on Instagram to avoid seeing them, but she had apparently posted a photo of Jane in a white outfit, a sleeveless blazer and pants, with a ring on her finger in what appears to be a courthouse. Emily saw this and immediately recognized it as potentially being an elopement photo. And yep, that's exactly what it was. Marriage licenses are public records, so she immediately searched online and there it was. A request for marriage filed on June 6, 2024, with a marriage date of June 20th, 2024. She was immediately disturbed at this revelation and, knowing that I don't know about this, debated what to do with this information. 2 hours after posting that photo, my ex took it down from her Instagram, presumably to hide the elopement. It does cause one to wonder why she ever posted it in the first place, but it could be my guest in trying to piece that decision together. Emily texted my ex the next day and said, "Hey, I know about the marriage and I really think that my name has a right to know. I think you should tell her BC you owe her that much. And if you don't tell her, I will." My ex proceeds to respond with, "I don't want to tell her, am not going to tell her. And frankly, I don't want her to know about this as this is a really intimate thing we have only shared with a very small number of close friends." Yeah. So Emily decides to tell me about all of this. I am truly still in shock. There's really no words. First of all, I know for a fact that her family does not know about this. Knowing her parents, who are both very rational and protective human beings, they would be beside themselves if they ever found out about this. Second of all, if we check on the timeline, she had filed for marriage on the 6th of June and a week later sent me the message saying how much she misses me and feels like an idiot for letting me go. It is so irrational and discongruent, I can't even wrap my head around it. And third, to know that she had absolutely no intention of telling me any of this, not thinking that she owed me that scrap of decency to tell me she filed for marriage 2 months after our 3.5-year relationship ended, and after all the messages expressing regret about it. I don't know what to make of any of this and I don't know how to feel. Since learning this, I have made a bunch of phone calls, some to close friends and family, and some to mutual friends that my ex and share. Just trying to piece it all together in my mind and share the lament and disbelief I am feeling. And unfortunately, I learned more. When I visited her in Jackson in December of 2023, just once day after I left, she went on a date with one of her exes and made out with her. The entire time I was there, visiting her instead of my own family over Christmas, she was texting that ex and calling her beautiful and asking if she wanted to make a reservation. She told that ex that her and I had been broken up for a while. I also pieced together that she cheated on me with 2 other people while she was in Argentina for roughly the last 2 years of our relationship. Basically, I have been able to connect a lot of dots and understand the true extent of the deception and mind games. I mean, as far as I'm aware now, it just seems like every time I talk to someone new, I learn a new detail about this person I once shared my life and love with, and it is making me terrified to keep on digging. I never expected any of this. No one does. The feelings range from extreme pain to humor at how insane all of this is to complete and utter terror as I realize that I never knew this person one bit. I thought I loved a good person, and to find out that she has lied to this extent, so selfishly and callously, for so long, and then seriously decided to elope with the person she left me for not 2 months after our breakup is unbearable. Truthfully, I feel like this is a manic episode, because I can't piece any of it together, why these decisions were made. I can't find any logical reason. I am so lost right now and I feel like my life is falling apart in front of my eyes. I don't know how to deal with any of this, and I can't help but have those dark moments where I blame myself for not seeing the signs sooner. I have a lot of urges right now. Urges to text her mom a screenshot of the marriage license, which I now have a copy of, as a way to get her family involved in what could quite literally be a psychotic break. Her mom still texts me and responds to my Insta stories BTW. I have urges to send screenshots to the new wife. God, that's so hard for me to even say. Of all the times my ex told me she misses me and regrets leaving me for her as a way to let her know what has gone on behind her back and save her from this clearly doomed marriage. But I know that these things would partly come from spite and could very genuinely lead to a complete nosedive, with a real possibility that my ex either hurts herself or others. And I don't want to contribute to any of this toxicity or cause a potentially dangerous situation. I just don't know what to do or where to go from here, and any help or wisdom or guidance at all would mean the world to me. I have tried so hard to rationalize her behavior, but have been unable to at this point. I just want to heal, but I feel so empty and alone and afraid from everything that I have learned and really need some help. If you have read all of the way up to this point, how else to say that you're a champion? This is a doozy and a long story, and thank you for sticking around to the end.